My name is Leonardo, and after I had grown within the halls of Verrocchio's workshop, I began, as a young man, to leave my own mark upon Florence. Florence was still the same city of voices, scents, and colors. But for me, something had changed. I was no longer the quiet apprentice in the studio. I began to emerge as an artist and a thinker. My hand had become skilled, yet my mind was more restless than ever. Every street, every square, every conversation seemed to ignite sparks within me. While those around me celebrated the beauty of art, I sought something deeper, the hidden laws behind it all. My first commissions came from churches and wealthy citizens. A portrait here, a small altarpiece there, works of little weight for history, perhaps. But for me, each one was a laboratory. When I painted a face, I did not simply capture the surface, but the movement of the muscles beneath. I spent endless hours sketching hands, not because I could not yet master them, but because I believed that in the hand lay the truth of the whole person. I could capture the glance of a child, laughing in one moment and crying the next. I did not seek the mask that society demanded, but the fleeting instant when the inner self revealed itself. Some who saw my work said, "Too alive, too restless, give us more holiness, less humanity." But I could not. To me, humanity itself was the holy. While other painters mixed their pigments and arranged their compositions according to tradition, I searched for truths that no book contained. I studied how light fell into a room. I placed candles and let their smoke drift across a wall, watching how shadows danced. I poured water into vessels to observe the rippling patterns. Others thought these games, but for me they were keys. Only one who understands the behavior of light can truly paint a face. Only one who grasps the nature of water can capture rivers and storms. Art for me was research. But life for a young artist in Florence was not all admiration. One day, I myself stood at the center of whispers and accusations. They accused me of sodomy, a charge that in my Florence could mean death. I was imprisoned with other young men. The days in the cell were dark. I did not know if I would ever see freedom again. And yet, as if by miracle, or perhaps by the influence of patrons, the charge was dropped. The prison doors opened and I stepped once more into the light. But I was not the same. The experience had shown me how fragile a reputation could be, how quickly admiration could turn to hatred. I swore to myself from then on I would be more cautious, not less curious, not less daring, but quieter in my passions. Part of me was scarred by this, and perhaps it was that scar that made my later work so haunting, because they came from a soul that had known the prison of shame. Yet my curiosity was unbroken. I began not only to paint people and nature, but to sketch machines. I filled pages with gears, cranes, catapults. I designed bridges that could be built and taken apart in moments. I drew flying machines with wings like birds, remembering the hours of my childhood when I had watched them in the skies of Vinci. People called me mad. A painter should paint, not draw wheels, they said. But I knew, art does not end at the canvas. The canvas is only the mirror of a greater creation, the one hidden in nature itself. Florence was full of geniuses. Botticelli painted his goddesses, Ghirlandaio his frescoes, and everywhere works were born that would change Europe. I was but one among them, and yet I was different. The others completed works that hung in churches and palaces. I began many, but finished few, and yet it was this restlessness that set me apart. While others lingered in their paintings, I chased the question behind all paintings. What is beauty? What is truth? What is possible? One day I felt Florence was too small for me. The city was splendid, but it wanted only paintings from me. My machines, my anatomical studies, my dreams of flight, all were seen as playthings, the fantasies of a restless mind. But I knew there were places where a man like me could be more than a painter. So I wrote a letter to Ludovico Sforza, Duke of Milan. In that letter I praised not my art, but my machines. I promised him bridges, catapults, armored vehicles. Only at the end did I mention almost in passing that I could also paint. Some call it cunning. I say it was truth, for my art and my science were never separate. The brush and the pen, the canvas and the notebook, they were tools of the same quest. When I entered the gates of Milan, it was as though I stepped into another world. Florence was a city of art, philosophy, trade. Milan was a city of fortresses, soldiers, ambition. Here ruled not the taste of bankers, but the will of a duke. Ludovico Sforza, called Il Moro, wanted strength, spectacle, power. And so here I found my stage. At his court I designed festival decorations, engineered weapons, and constructed water systems. And yet, in the quiet hours, I painted. For though I understood the power of machines, my heart still longed for the language of images. And then came the commission that would define me. The Last Supper, in the refectory of Santa Maria delle Grazie. It was no ordinary painting. Others had shown the same scene, but always in stiff formality. Christ in the center, disciples arranged like statues. I wanted to capture the moment of shock when Jesus speaks. "One of you will betray me." The words crash like thunder. One disciple leaps, another raises his hands in fear, another whispers, another stares into himself. Every gesture, every glance, a story. And Judas, he does not sit far away in darkness. He sits among them, his shadow hidden in the circle. This work was more than art, it was psychology. A storm of human hearts frozen in one eternal instant. But my quest in Milan was not only to paint. I studied bodies, dissecting corpses in the night to learn how muscles move, how the heart beats, how nerves flow. Many said it was blasphemy, but to me it was the purest form of truth. I believed that only one who understands the human body within can portray it truthfully without. My notebooks filled with spines, muscles, veins, so precise that even centuries later doctors would still marvel. And still I dreamed of machines. Helical screws that might lift into the air, wings shaped like birds, devices for breathing underwater, even suits for divers. Most of them could not yet be built. The metals were too heavy, the tools too crude. But I knew one day man would fly as birds do. And when he did, they would find the seed of that dream in my sketches. In Milan, I became both artist and engineer. I painted Madonnas for churches, staged festivals, designed war machines that never saw battle. And in this tension I lived, torn between beauty and utility. At times, doubts gnawed at me. I left works unfinished, too restless to complete them. Patrons grew impatient. They wanted results, not dreams. And yet I could not force myself to deliver only what was asked. I had to seek, to question, to explore. And so my reputation grew, both as a genius and as one who rarely finished what he began. Often my thoughts returned to Florence, to the streets full of art, to Verrocchio's workshop. There I had learned to see. But in Milan, under the gaze of a duke, I learned how far a mind can go when given wings. I am Leonardo. Florence was my cradle. Milan was my proving ground. And within the walls of that city, I began to appear not merely as an artist, but as a creator of worlds yet to come.